Hi, this is Spiritual Psychic Cynthia Killian again, also known as Psychic Cynthia, and welcome back. Welcome back to your Awakening Your Inner Psychic Spiritual Psychic class series. And today I want to talk with you about the importance of paying attention. Paying attention. This is so very important, dear one, on your path of spiritual psychic awakening. It doesn't matter if you're just beginning, as many of you are, or if you've been on your path many lifetimes. Paying attention is part of preparing yourself to receive psychically. And one of the things that you're going to figure out real fast once you get on the psychic path, if you actually work any of the exercises that I suggest, you're going to find out real fast how asleep most people are. Most people are just on autopilot. In the mainstream, they're going through their lives without much paying attention. And I'm not saying this to be mean or saying it's a bad thing necessarily. I mean, I get it. If you're just in that survival mode and you need to get from point A to point B and get this job done and that job done, maybe you just want to do it with as little of your consciousness as possible. But that's not going to open your psychic abilities. And that's not the way we psychics do it, okay? Psychics pay attention. And this is true whether you're doing a reading for yourself, you're reading for somebody else, or whether you're just going along in life, hoping to be open to guidance, hoping to be able to feel that divine nudge. How are you going to know it when it comes if you're not able to pay attention? So in this lesson here today, I want to just share some tips with you and some exercises basically about how you can strengthen your ability to pay attention. And listen, this is one of those things that you must do it to develop psychically. You can't skip this and hope you're going to be a good psychic. You won't be, okay? So please don't skip this. I know that we don't always love the videos on technique, but we do have to have some of these techniques. And really, this isn't just a technique, it's a way of being. It's a way of living. Do you want to keep living life on autopilot where you're asleep? Or do you want to be awake? Now, I understand sometimes when you first awaken, it's kind of uncomfortable because it's like, wow, there's all this stuff coming out at me. But we need to awaken if we're going to be on the psychic path. This video course, these classes, they are called Awakening Your Inner Psychic, aren't they, dear one? For a reason, okay? Alrighty. So, paying attention. What paying attention does is it trains your mind to notice things, to pick up on data, to look for anomalies and variances in the pattern. And generally, this is how we get psychic data, by noticing anomalies and variance in the pattern. You go out your door every day, it looks like this. Oh, gee, this looks different today. I wonder if that has any meaning. Well, it probably does. Okay, so how you can begin to do this, some simple ideas. First of all, when you're driving in your car, if you have a car, if you drive, I want you to start noticing the street names everywhere you go. Make no exceptions. Pay attention to the road signs. Notice the name of every highway. Notice when the name of the highway changes when you're on it. Same thing when you're at a street corner. Try to look and see what streets you're crossing. Now, I know it's hard if you're going on a really long street and you're going to cross 30 different streets, but try to see as many of those signs as you can. Get a general sense. Especially pay attention to the major intersections where you're at. And the same thing goes even if you don't drive, but you ride in a car or you ride in a bus or whatever. Pay attention to where you're at. Start to notice the streets. Start to notice what direction you're moving in. And I don't mean just because a GPS told you. Right now, when you're done with this video, wherever you're at, if you can, go outside. Stand somewhere outside and face north. Then face east. Or excuse me, well, okay, yes, you can face north, east, south, and then west. Or you could do it the other way if you want and go north, west, south, and east. Or for that matter, you could start in any direction, but start in one of the 4 directions, face it, identify it, and stand facing all 4 of the directions. And get a feel for what the magnetism of that feels like to you. Now, if you want to take this further, you don't have to do this part, but it would really help open and expand your psychic awareness if you wanted to. This is going to take more time. If you want to go further, get yourself some star maps and start looking at the stars in your area and noting the movement of the constellations. This will be very helpful for opening your awareness and your sense of space and time and where you're at and all of that. Now, even if you don't want to do that, you can also start paying attention to the moon as it rises. Where is it at in the sky? Is it further north today than yesterday or further south? Did it rise later than the night before? And I'll give you a hint, it does rise later, okay? As it goes on in its cycle each month. Look at the sun, watch the sun throughout the year. I mean, for example, right now when I'm filming this video, it's not quite winter, it's late November, but we're definitely past the autumn equinox, and I've been watching the sun, and it keeps appearing more and more south in the sky here. And why is that? Because the way the earth and the sun and all that's going right now, the sun is hitting the southern hemisphere more and not so much the north as much, which is where we live, by the way. So it's moving further towards the south. Now, in the summer, I notice it closer, more towards the north. So, for example, this is part of paying attention. Now, other things I want you to do as you go about your day, I want you to start noticing the colors that are in the room. The colors of cars, the colors of people's eyes. Could you tell me the eye color of the last person you spoke with or saw in person? Could you tell yourself that right now? Could you answer that question? If not, you need to pay more attention right now. Now you might say, well, Cynthia, what does the eye color of the last person that I spoke to have anything to do with me being psychic, or what phase the moon is in, or how far north or south the sun is? What do these things have to do with me being psychic? Remember, you've got to learn to pay attention, or in other words, you've got to learn to notice. I mean, most people, when they first start on this path, they wouldn't notice a spirit if it flew by on a broom and knocked them in the face, okay? And by the way, spirits are usually much more subtle than that. So this is why we have to develop our ability to notice. Now, you're not always going to need to notice every single thing, but you're training yourself to notice so that later on, you can then train yourself to be more selective in your noticing. But you first have to get awake. You first have to get conscious before you can start to be, particular about, how you're awake or what you're looking for, what you're honing in on psychically. So in the next week or so ahead, really, and just all the weeks ahead, I want you to practice noticing. Noticing how you feel when you meet somebody for the first time. Notice what kind of energies you feel going off of them. And listen, you don't have to be an advanced psychic to get a sense of what you're feeling when you interact with somebody. You just have to notice. One thing you can ask yourself when you interact with the person, you can say to yourself, does this person feel hot or cold? Or warm or cold, for example? Does this person, do their energies feel heavy or light? Do they feel inviting and welcoming or closed and guarded? For example, these are just some examples of how you can practice being more aware. Now, what you might notice too in this process I'm giving you is that you're asking yourself questions. And that too is an amazing backbone of the psychic process. If you haven't figured it out already, and maybe you haven't because you probably are new, being a psychic means being curious and asking questions, delving into the mystery. So I'm always asking myself, I wonder what will happen today. I'm wondering how this experience will go. I wonder how such and such is feeling. I wonder what this plant needs. I wonder if there's something I can do to help such and such. I wonder what I'm needing today to be more balanced. What is that, Spirit? So never assume you know. Always ask questions. Ask questions to your inner self, your inner psychic, and start noticing and listening and paying attention. So that's what I want you to work on right now. And really, throughout this whole series, I'll probably remind you again, but I really want you to hone in on this. And if you want, you can take some notes in your psychic journal, especially if, as you start paying attention to all the colors and the sights and the sounds and the smells, you start really becoming more conscious. Write down those things that stand out to you that you somehow feel are more significant. And that might have deeper meaning later on, but you'll have to write them down to start figuring out some of the patterns. So trust me, paying attention is important. It's paramount to your psychic awakening. So wake up, dear ones. Start paying attention more and noticing in the weeks ahead. Bright blessings. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out via email or comments or private session. You know how to reach me. Blessings.